Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about perfectionism. More specifically, I want you to take that perfectionism and just throw it out the window. Just forget about it. Get rid of it. And I guess I should say specifically, I want you to forget about perfectionism when it comes to working on your business.
Yeah, this is something distinguished. Like, we want you to do a good job out there. Don't get us wrong. You need to be striving for perfection on the job site, but this is a little different.
Well, because a lot of landscaping business owners, you have that feeling all the time of like, oh God, I got to get it together. I got to get it together. You know, it's just that feeling of I know I need to do more, but it's hard because as a business owner, you are used to doing that field work, and that kind of has to be a little bit perfect. Like, you can't install wonky patios. You can't like mow grass and blow it on customers' houses. So coming from that standpoint of you're used to having to do things perfect, I think that's where it's easy to get a little bit stuck.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. It's when you are working on your business, like on the business part, it is completely appropriate and okay to just take that perfectionism and just throw it out the window. This is where the saying done is better than perfect actually comes into play, and it's okay. I had dinner with a friend recently, and she was like, I hate that saying. But in her defense, she comes from like more of like a bookkeeping background where once again, like, things have to be a little bit perfect.
Again, certain things.
So there's a time and a place. But when it comes to working on your business, we're going with done is better than perfect. You've heard us say before, you got to do it a little bit dirty. Yep. And that's 100% exactly what we're talking about. Take your perfectionism and chuck it.
This comes into play a lot of times we see with landscapers, like you said, want to work on their business. You know, they're trying to get it, whatever their forms or checklists or procedures, and everybody wants to get it perfect.
Yeah, well, and you might be sitting there and you're like, I am not a perfectionist. You know, this isn't me. But really sit and think about it. Like, okay, if you're not working on your business, if you're not taking those steps to work on the actual business part of things, then like, why aren't you doing it? Other than time. None of us have any time. Nobody has. You're never going to magically have more time. So take the time. I hate to use the word excuse because it is a real thing, but take the time, just set that to the side. Okay, why aren't you getting started? So, because you might have a little more of these perfectionist tendencies than you think. Because I've never thought of myself as a perfectionist. I'm definitely a high achieving person. Like, I will push. You know, I have like that internal drive to push myself. But I never thought I was a perfectionist.
I think a lot of it is I do that a lot. I find myself I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
A lot better at it. But I would hold on to things and not do everything or not release things until I thought it was perfect, and it hurt me. So.
Yeah. Well, so I went ahead and like looked up some of the traits of perfectionism just to kind of see what they were. I'm like, okay, if we're going to talk about this, let's maybe like look these up and see what they really say. So here's what I came up with. One of the first one, it's that all or nothing thinking. It's Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last.
That's right.
So that can be something like if you're either all in and it's all done and it's all perfect, or you're not even going to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily.
That's how I am.
Yeah. See, I don't.
And
really
I think
get
that's
that
a lot of from my upbringing. You had to do it. You had to do it perfect, and it has to be prim and proper all the time. And like you said, there's a time and place for everything. But
yes, like once again, we are not do not start slacking off on like doing the actual field work. Bookkeeping, field work, things that have to have a certain level of perfectionism. Yes. But no, working on your business, go ahead and just take a little bit. The next characteristic that I looked up, and you're highly critical of yourself. Instead of like taking pride in what you've accomplished, you look for mistakes and imperfections. And I never really thought about that, because I definitely do that one. Like if somebody's like, oh, you did such a good job on blah, blah, blah. I'm the person that will be like, oh, no, but I did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. Like I do. I will pick everything I do apart and look for what I did wrong, instead of being like giving myself a pat on the back for what I did right. And I never really thought about that.
I never have it either.
Yeah.
It's true. I can see that.
Yeah, I know. So then the next one was you're pushed by fear. Like a high achieving person they're pulled toward their goal, and they're happy with like the journey. They're happy to take the steps to get to that goal. The perfectionists, they're working towards the goal, but they're doing it more because they're like afraid of what's going to happen if they don't get there. So I thought that was a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. You're probably going to laugh at this next one because this is another one that I didn't realize that I do all the time. Unrealistic standards.
That's a big one for you.
Yes, you set goals that aren't always reasonable. Because high achievers, they'll set their goal high, but once again, they'll kind of just enjoy getting to that goal, and they'll enjoy going further on, like to the next goal. Perfectionists will set their initial goals out of reach. Like I've actually had like friends of mine tell me that like I've got to pump the brakes, that I might set unrealistic
you do
goals.
this a lot of times with like
With
what you want to
everything.
accomplish every day. You come in like 100 things that you want to do today, and we're like, we're only going to get to 10 of these. And
We're lucky if we get to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. My
You do
girlfriend
the
that I
same.
worked with for a number of years, like I was her supervisor, and I'd be like, blah, 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 we're gonna do this and this. We're gonna. Da, da, da. She's like, pick 3 of those. Pick 3.
Yeah.
We will do 3. And I'm like, no, but. And she's like, no, buts. So, yeah. But I never thought of that as perfectionism. I just kind of have always considered myself a little driven. So.
it's all in the wording. All in the
Right.
wording.
Right. So no, I knew you'd get a kick out of that one. So maybe just work on reeling in your.
Well, I do this. I find myself that with time. Like, I think I can do all these things, and then something pops up, and you see this all the
Completely
time.
derails you. Yeah.
You see this all the time in anything I do. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yes. Well, and this one ties well into the next characteristic, and that's you are depressed by unmet goals. So, perfectionists are they're less happy and easysgoing than high achievers. Perfectionists tend to beat themselves up and wallow when their high expectations aren't met.
Somebody
Guilty.
gets like that. Yeah.
Guilty. Well, it's hard. It's hard. I don't know how to turn it off. Like I sometimes wish I knew how to turn it off.
You
but-
do that a lot in this business here.
Why you call me out for everybody? But I do. Well, but I'm trying to get better at wallowing for a minute and then getting over it and moving forward.
Well, that's how I'm like. I get mad at myself, but then I'm like,
You
all
move on
So then
quicker
I
than
gotta keep looking forward. Can't look past.
Yeah. No, I would say I wallow. But once again, these are not things. I never thought of these as perfectionism. I really didn't. So I was maybe raised to be a little more of a perfectionist than I thought. I'm going to obviously blame my parents. I mean, I'm only 43. Yeah. Why would I take responsibility for my own actions? So, but anyway, so yes, if you're depressed by your unrealistic, high achieving goals, then maybe you're a little bit of a perfectionist and need to bring it down.
Yeah.
So no, this has actually been a good exercise. This is forcing me to look in a mirror a little bit and maybe adjust my attitude.
That's gonna happen.
Anyway, the next one was fear of failure. You're more afraid to fail. You'll put things off because you're so afraid of doing them wrong. And this is where the doing it dirty comes in. And I don't think you and I suffer from that quite as much. I mean, we'll do things. The list of things we've done wrong is vast.
Oh yeah.
Real
Well,
long.
that's how I learned. I just go in and dive in and
We
go
both
for
kind
it.
of just cannonball
Yeah.
into things and maybe should put more thought into them. I don't know. But
Well, that's where you and I kind of work out, because I'll just go and do it, and
Yeah.
you think about things way more than I do, and I'll
I
just
do.
dive in. And
Yeah.
then it's nice to hear your input on it. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should do this, or I should have thought of this, or
True.
so it kind of works
Well,
out.
because I tend to think of like 487 angles when I'm looking at something, and you'll think of like 1 to 3. And so
Yeah.
that's just, I think I'm a very general thinker. I have a hard time narrowing down on specific things, and you're much more not narrow-minded. No, just you're better at zoning in on things.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get nervous about things, but
Yeah.
I don't think I let it hold me back. Like, I'm always
Yeah.
open to new ideas and trying things and
Yeah.
seeing, and I
Well,
don't know.
Once again, this is where if you find yourself, just standing around and you're really just afraid to put yourself out there and do it, then you might have a little perfectionism going on.
And now you say that, I got thinking about too, like, I think a lot of business owners, and I can see this was happening with my dad, he would not want to do new things, like water features, for example. When we first started talking about doing water features more, and he said, that won't work out here.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he was afraid of it, and didn't want. I mean, I get it. You don't want to lose money,
Uncharted territory. Yeah.
but you can't let those things kind of hold you back. If you do your research and figure it out, or look
do
at
your
it,
research and it's reasonable to try it. You're not
And-
like water features isn't something that requires a huge investment up front. It's not like you had to go buy specialized equipment or
Yeah.
anything.
yeah, none of that, or even listening to your employees. Like, I know this. Like, I come in, I have a plan of what we're gonna do for that job or whatever. But then you'll hear from somebody else, like another foreman, like, well, why don't we try it this way? Well, sometimes we get stuck in that mindset that, no, this is the way
Do you
we're going
think
to do
that's
it. This is
fear of failure, or do you think that's being stubborn?
little
Is that
both.
a little 50-50 cocktail right
both,
there? A little bit of both, a little bit of
because
A, a little bit of B?
sometimes you're going off of what you have done in the past, I think.
Yeah.
And you know this works.
Yes.
But sometimes you need to like open your mind a little bit and try some of the things that.
I know.
You know,
I'm
you're
just making
clearly
sure we're not
yeah.
derailing and getting off
No,
topic
but I
because this
think
is fear of failure.
But I think we know this works, so we're going to try it. We're going to do it this way, not try it, but
Sure.
we're going to do it.
All righty. Well, on that note, we'll move to the next one, procrastination. You'd think it would be the other way around. You'd think if you were a perfectionist, you would just want to get it done and get it done. But sometimes perfectionists can spend so much time worrying about not doing it perfectly that they'll like freeze up a little bit and end up doing not doing anything. Instead of doing it dirty, they'll just do nothing.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I just actually heard. I want to say it was an audiobook here recently. I just heard this same fact. He said
Oh,
this.
okay.
I want to say it was Business Made Simple.
Oh, okay.
I think
A
he
Donald
talked
Miller
about.
book.
Yeah, I think he just talked about that.
Okay. Well, but once again, something to think about. If you find yourself kind of just dragging your feet, you might have a little perfectionism going on with that. Because I definitely drag my feet when I have too many ideas and I can't pick which one I want to do. Sometimes you just have to pick one thing and just start doing it and doing it dirty. You have to just pick one and go for it.
Yep.
There's no other way around it. Just find something and do it. So, and then the last thing that they had was low self-esteem. It was just being critical and rigid with yourself. And then that can make you push other people away. So I think that just kind of ties into just being really hard on yourself if you're not doing it to the unrealistic standards that you have set for yourself. So.
Yeah.
I just thought these were really eye-opening because honest to goodness, really never thought of either one of us as perfectionists. You maybe more than I, but this was a mirror in the face. So.
Well, it's important to understand that way you can go about fixing it and addressing those issues. So
yeah. Well, and so if you've heard me rattle these off, and even if only a couple of them apply to you, just take a minute, look at your business. Is there something that you've been meaning to do or work on, but you have been putting it off because you are afraid that you're not going to get it right, or you're not 100% sure where to start? So just go ahead and start just taking action on it. And if you don't know where to get started, find somebody that does. Luckily, we live like in the age of the interwebs, where I'm pretty sure you can YouTube literally anything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's
YouTube,
on the internet.
Google, anything you can.
Yeah, it's all on there. Well, and this is why we created the $1 Million Academy, because we know and realize that it's hard to figure out where to start and what to work on. But we never wanted anybody to not take action because they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
this is why we say do it dirty all the time in the academy.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and we have put together like what we're calling playbooks inside of the academy because it can just kind of guide you through whatever you want to work on. It's like, okay, you want to know your numbers? We've got a playbook for that. You want to know how to price your work? You don't know what you should be charging? We have a playbook for that. Because these playbooks help just get past that, not doing anything because you don't know what to do. And we 100% support the just get started and get done. Like we said, do it dirty. You can always come back and fix it. You can always come back and revisit it. So
well, kind of going back to even just getting started, like the bookkeeping, for example, we say you got to be perfect on this.
Yeah.
And it's true. And I just had a meeting with one of our members, and their books were not perfect. And so now we're working through it, trying to figure out how to go about fixing it. So even that wasn't done perfect. They got started, they did something, and now we're going through and tweaking. This is something you need to do.
Right.
So
there's a couple things in play here. Like it was okay that they weren't perfect. It's always fixable. But the sooner you fix it, the better.
Yeah.
That's why we have playbooks, and so people aren't afraid to just get started. Yeah. Because I just want people to know that, like, even if you just like even if you like majorly mess up or blub something up, like it's okay. You have probably messed up something in the past. Think of your business. Maybe it was a job that you did for somebody, or maybe it was something on the business end. But guess what? Are you still here? You're not dead.
Yeah.
It might have really sucked at the moment, but you're still here.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay. You'll get through it. This has been happening to me a lot lately. Anyone who's on our email list might have noticed. I think I have messed up 3 emails in the past 2 weeks. I sent out one that was like a previous draft of an email I had already sent because I had it. Whatever, I messed it up in our software. I think we sent things out. We ran a sale recently. We sent out the end email before that started because I just put in the date wrong. I think I messed up another one too. Anyway.
The links, I think, was
I
another
think
one.
messed up some links. So maybe I need to do things a little less dirty. No, maybe I need to be a little more picky on my things. No, I'm just saying. There was a time in my life where it would have killed me that I messed these up. I would have felt so bad. I would have just been like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I can't believe this. Why did I do this? Da, 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 da. But I was more gracious with myself this past time than I've ever been in my life. I was like, you know what? We've been really we've been busy. It's spring. Tell me a landscaper that isn't busy in the spring. We've just been really busy, and I've been trying to crank out a lot of stuff, and I made some mistakes. I just moved on. I really didn't do anything about it. I didn't even send out apology emails because I was like, at this point, what's the point? Yeah. It's not going to do anything. I hope that people will read it and be like, "Ooh, she had a bad day," and just move on and be gracious with me about it. And so,
mistakes happen.
They do.
Well, look at any job that you've done in the past. You've made mistakes and you learned from those mistakes, and now you have improved. You know, I can tell you the first water feature I did was terrible.
Well, yeah,
but it was
functionally fine, but by today's standards, kind of really ugly.
Yeah, so we've grown and we've improved. So
well, and your rock placement in your ponds is somewhere you had to give up your perfectionism, because when you were training somebody else to come in and take over the pond crew for you, you couldn't sit there and nitpick about their rock placement, even if it wasn't exactly what you would have done.
They should have turned it 90 degrees.
I know you have that eye for rock design, but you had to get past it.
Yep,
you realized at some point there's no reason to nitpick.
I actually learned that from Greg Woodstock, the owner of Aquascape, because he talked about that with his at one of the trainings we went through with him, and he talked about one of his head guys taking over, who currently is a head guy, taking over his position doing that. And he said, I remember him saying, like, he got to the job site and thought it was terrible.
Hey, but if the homeowner likes it.
Exactly. And the homeowner came out, oh, it looks beautiful. And then his whole mindset kind of changed from there, realizing, you know,
it's their pond. Yeah, they like it. Cool.
Yeah. But then from there on, he started teaching the guys, you know, different things. But the same thing goes here. You have to start somewhere. Start dirty, start getting started, or start getting going on it, and you can always improve.
Right. So so I don't know. Like I said, this was just kind of like this gave me a lot to think about. Stuff that when I initially came up with the idea for this podcast, it was because of the dinner I had with my friend, where I was like, you know what, done is better than perfect, and she's like, oh, I hate that. So I'm like, oh, we got to talk about this. But then once I sat and looked up some of these characteristics, it was pretty eye-opening. So sit back, take a look at your business, see what you can start doing dirty now. Like what's something you can just go ahead and take action on, and if you mess it up, just be easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah, always move forward. Just keep moving forward.
Yep.
That's all you can do.
All right.
All right.
All right. On that note, I've got some pod deck questions for Scott. Let's see, which one do I want to ask first? We'll start with this one. Scott, would you rather have creamy or chunky peanut butter? I actually don't know your preference, and you would think I would. I've been buying peanut butter for years.
I prefer crunchy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the
you like a
little crunch of the.
I was going to say you like it a little nutty, but then again, I'm a nerd, and I'm like, well, actually, peanuts are legumes, not nuts. And then things get weird, and so I will just not nerd all over that. But all right, Scott likes it a little crunchy. What is left on your bucket list? Oof. There's probably a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I've really even started my bucket list.
No?
Well, we want to, I know you and I both, we want to travel across the country.
We do.
In our camper or RV or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So that's definitely high up. And I want to just travel more. I want to see more of the country. We never traveled when I was little, so. Yeah,
well, you grew up farming, and so you guys couldn't leave.
Yep.
And my parents, we weren't actively farming. My dad just never wanted to go anywhere. So, well, my dad collects antique cars, and so I've been to like every junkyard and swap meet in like a 50-mile radius around here. So, I mean,
yeah,
I've been to all those.
Yeah,
but
so I think that's why we're together. We want to travel across the country.
I think so, because yes, as a small child, I wasn't real enthused with the junkyards, and you probably weren't real enthused without going, anywhere. So
yeah, it was always interesting when I guess I didn't know any better when growing up, and then when I got older and I started seeing other friends are like, oh, we're going here. Like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't think I knew any better, but I think I do remember being in probably like middle school, And like somebody came to the school and gave a talk about like environmental something. I don't remember if it was like, you know, those groups where you can get like a summer job and go like work at national parks and like work on trails and do that. It was something along those lines. But I remember just being like floored by the pictures that they were showing and the things that were out there. Because I'm like, these places exist. I'm like, this is amazing. This is so much better than Northwest Indiana. Not that Northwest Indiana's bad, but I think
I never went camping really till I met you.
Okay,
so.
I at least had gone camping, but it was once again just like within a 100-mile radius of my house. We didn't really go super far, but we at least went somewhere. So anyway, so you're ready to hit the road. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. What's the dumbest way you've been injured?
Ooh.
So many options.
I had to think about that one.
I have one that's right on the top of my head, but I want to be interesting to see what you say. I figured this is a good one for landscapers because I'm just saying in general, we've probably all done some pretty silly things.
I mean, I've taken a saw blade to my fingers. I've clipped my fingers with clippers.
That's the one I was thinking of.
I was holding some plants and kind of snipped. I was looking away, not looking at where I was clipping, and it clipped the tip of my finger off. That was a good one.
That's the one. That's the one I had in mind because that was just flat out you weren't paying attention. So
I had another one where I was rotating a rock into the bucket or towards the bucket of the mini skid steer, and it smashed it. That was a pretty good one. That was a good slice.
Oh, smashed your finger?
Yeah, it got like slid between the edge of the bucket and the rock.
Ooh,
and
I remember
got
this
stuck.
one.
That was when we were pretty far away. I just kind of let it bleed and I wrapped it up. But
please don't take medical advice from Scott. Just let it bleed. Wrap it up.
Fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
So.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yep. Well, those are pretty good. But no, the clipping the
I
end
think
of your
they're
finger off was the one I had in mind because that was just flat out you weren't paying attention.
Well, the other one was like one of the serrated saw blades. I was
Yeah.
cutting a tree branch, and the same stupid thing I did. I looked away.
Dude, pay
wasn't pinching
attention.
and cut. I still have the scar on that one. That was a
Quit
good
looking
one.
away when you have
Yeah.
sharp things in your hand.
You'd think I'd learn.
Seriously. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And don't forget to drop us a comment. Let us know what you're doing dirty. Just don't be afraid to get started. And if you need some help, check out the $1 Million Academy. We're happy to at least get you started in the right direction.
Yep. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.